Hi, this is skill 17, multiplying or factoring perfect or difference of squares. So we're going to start by multiplying these binomials, and then we're going to see what our answer is that comes up in the blank. So you can use the box method or the double distribute method or FOIL. Put it with x squared minus 4. So if I kept doing this, what I notice about all of these is the sign. We had a negative sign. Between like an x squared minus some number. Oh, sorry. It asked what do we notice about the binomial factors that were being multiplied. So what do we notice about the original factors? Is they were the same, just with a different sign. So one had like a plus in the middle, one had the x in the middle. So I'm going to take a second to think about what we noticed about the answers. So I'm going to write it here, but it will go down below. It was always like, it was each term squared. So like my 10 squared, my 10x squared became 100x squared. My 7 became a 49. So it's each term squared with a negative between. So in order to, what we're now going to learn how to do is when we're given, we're going to learn how to factor. So we need to make sure we have binomials, which just means two terms. Make sure that we factor out the GCF. If both terms are perfect squares and have a subtraction sign between them, you can factor them using difference of squares. Find the square root of each term. Put those in your binomial factors. Step 5 is make sure one factor has a positive sign and the other factor has a negative sign. Okay, so I'm going to factor out a GCF. They both have a 2x. So this becomes an x, and the square root of that becomes a 4. So I have 2x, x minus 4, x plus 4. So I have difference of squares. I'm going to plot a negative 2. This becomes a 5x squared and this becomes a 3 squared. I can factor out a 4. And then one has a plus and one has a minus. So we may not always have difference of squares, so let's think about that as we do this next set. I factor out a 5. Okay, notice that this is an x squared and a 2 squared, but I have a plus between, so this is not difference of squares. This has a 4x. Hijax. So that I can't write these as something squared, so this is also not a difference of squares.
Ni when I haven't learned at all.
Okay, we're going to use difference of squares to help us factor. So the first is we set each equation equal to 0. We're going to factor by difference of squares. So this is really 2x minus 5, 2x plus 5. Now using my zero product property, I can set each factor equal to 0. And I get 2.5 and negative 2.5. So the next step we're going to do is more the solving types. So this first one, I already have x equal to 0. This is the same as 9x and 10. So I'm going to set each of these equal to 0. Um, so the second one, I'm going to do factor by grouping. I have 4 terms. Excuse me. I'm going to pull out an x squared. I'm going to pull out a negative 4. I have my matching. and my leftovers. Look at my leftovers look a lot like a difference of squares. So that's difference of squares, and now I can set each of these equal to 0. So x equals 2, -2, and 3. I can pull out a u. Now I have difference of squares. 25 is a 5, and u squared is a u. So I can set each of these equal to 0. A number cubed is equal to 4 times that number. So I'm going to solve this by setting one side equal to 0. Factor out my greatest common factor. This is difference of squares again. This is the same as x squared, and this is the same as 2 squared. So x equals 0, -2, and 2. And I got that from setting x equal to 0. The combined area of 2 squares is 20 centimeters. The side of one square is twice as long as the side of other squares. So total area equals the area of the smaller one times the area of the bigger one. And now I want to solve this by setting one side equals to 0. Oh. I can factor to 5. X equaled -2 and 2 when I set those equal to 0. However, we cannot use this -1 because we can't have a negative distance. So this has a side of 2, and this has a side of 4. So my answers are 2 and 4 for my side length. Okay, let me know if you have any questions.